Thank you everyone for joining us here today, for the people that are here in person, and for those of you joining online. Thank you for making the time to share in this with us today. I will hand over to Guruji to start the ceremony.
Please chant Gayatri Mahamantra with me 3 times. I would like to request all of you to chant Gayatri Mantra 3 times with me. Om Swaha Tatsavito Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Swaha Tatsavituvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Swaha Tatsavituvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Nah Prachodayat. नमोस्तु गुरुवे तस्मै गायत्रीरूपिणे सदा यस्य वागमृतं हन्ति विषं संसारसंयुतं भवानी शंकरो वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणो याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तरस्थमीश्वर। ॐ असम्भवम् संभवकर्तुमुक्तं प्रचण्डजञ्जाकृतिरोधसक्षमं युगस्य निर्माणकृते समुद्यतं परं महाभारमं नमाम्यहम्। तननी नश्वरता याद रहे प्रभु, आत्मज्ञान तो दे दे। तननी नश्वरता याद रहे प्रभु, आत्मज्ञान तो दे दे। निमित्त बनी में कार्य करे सब, स्थित प्रज्ञता तो दे। Manya Nishabin, Hatimabin, and all friends, family members, and all below person of Pujya Raj Desai's contacts. There will be last ceremony of Pujya Rajnibai's Jiv Chetna in 2 sessions. This first session, morning session, is session of prayer, and second session, which is most important, it will be happen at crematorium. And in that procedure, we are going to perform a last yajna, last havan of Pujya Rajnibai's Jiv Chetna, for the Pujya Rajnibai's Jiv Chetna. Of course, it will be in very limited and short time. What we are going to do there, I will explain later. What we are going to do now is just simple. We are expressing our heartfelt respect towards Pujya Rajbhai's Jiv Chetna. We are also expressing our condolences, sympathy, and our samvedna to Nishaben, Fatimaben, and all family members. There is some science behind it, but we'll talk later about it. Now I would like to request Nishaben for the speeches, and before that, I would like to request all of you to chant Samudayik Pratna, which is very important. Pamphlet is given to all of you. Please chant with me. It is very beautiful prayer, and we all can chant right now. Om Bhurvuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Vishwani Deva Savitaduritani Parasubha Yadbhatram Tanna Asuva. Om Apne Naya Supataraye Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yuyodhyasmat Joranameno Purishanti Namurtim Videva. Namaste Satite Jagatkarnaya Namaste Chite Sarvalokashayaya Namo Vaita Tattva Mukti Pradaya Namo Brahmane Vyapti Sashvataya Tvamekam Sharanyam Tvamekam Varenyam Tvamekam Jagatpalakam Sarvaprakasham Tvamekam Jagatpatri Tvamekam Param Nishchalam Nirvikalpam Vayam Tvam Smaramo Vayam Tvam Bhajamo Vayam Tvam Jagat Sakshirupam Namah Sadekam Nidanam Nilanam Kanisham Bhavam Bodhi Bodham Saranyam Rajam. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Nityorma Mritam Gamaya Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhamapame. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
stand. Thank you, Guruji, for the wonderful prayers. And thank you for everyone joining us here today, here in person and online as well. Thank you for making the time to be here and to share in these last moments. My father, Raj Desai, the infamous Raj Desai. He was known across Cape Town. He was always someone somewhere that knew who he was. I've met random people in random places that somehow ended up knowing him from somewhere. I've even had friends my own age that have told me they have met him. He was everywhere, across ages, races, and areas. How do I even begin to describe a man like him? I'll start at the beginning. My dad was from Durban and moved to Cape Town at an early age. He started off with his working life with nothing, not even a cent to his name. He didn't have the money to pay for rent, so he stayed with people he knew, and even lived out of someone's garage. He had many different jobs, 14 if I recall correctly. And it was only once he was 38 did he start to experience stability and growth in one direction. After all these jobs and a few failed attempts at starting his own business, the tables turned around the time shortly before he met my mom and had me. My dad always used to say that I was his lucky charm because everything started taking off just after I was born. My parents started importing clothes from India, and they sold this wholesale with their business Plaza Importers and their retail business Raj Mahal. Their most popular stores were in the Oriental Plaza, in Wynberg, Abbey Streets, and Woodstock. What a success they made of themselves, and what an incredible team they were together. They had such great synergy. They built an empire from nothing in just under a decade. My dad was the talker, the salesman. He was constantly in motion and spent his life in sales, from his early age, from his early jobs right until his passing. He was great at it, a showman of sorts. I think he would have made a brilliant actor or performer, because he definitely had the soul and flair for it. Ultimately though, he was a storyteller. He had so many stories to tell, of his life, of his adventures. They were not only entertaining, but they had so much wisdom and learning in them as well. If you're listening to this now, you probably have heard at least one of his stories, and if I could hear one last thing from him, it would definitely be one last story of his life. The most prominent memory though that I have of my dad is not of a specific place or time, but purely of his energy, his smile, and his presence. He had a big personality, a big smile, and lots of energy and wisdom to share with all. He had so many friends and knew so many people. It was overwhelming to experience the day after his passing just how many people paid their respects. It was my first experience of feeling such deep honor to have this man as my father, a man who touched so many people's lives. He valued his family and friends dearly, and he spoke often to me about the happy times he shared with them. I wish you could see and hear now how well loved he was by so many, and I wish you could hear all the wonderful things I've heard about him over the last week, and how many good memories that were shared. I wish he could have had a proper funeral. He definitely deserved one, because I know he would have wanted people to gather today, in person, to share in celebrating his life. And what a celebration it is, and what a celebration it should be. He wouldn't have wanted tears of sadness, only tears of joy, with remembrance of the good times and the great times. One of my dad's favorite phrases, which you may have heard from him, was, "A boer maak 'n plan, maar 'n Indian het 'n plan." And he was Indian to the bone. He always had a plan. He was someone you could always count on for help, no matter who you were, no matter where you were. It didn't matter who needed it, whether it be me, a friend, or a complete stranger. He was always ready and willing to help. As a father, he was amazing. I was never short of anything. I was daddy's little girl through and through. He taught me how to ride a bicycle, play pool, how to drive, how to think. Most importantly, he gave me a brilliant education. My dad didn't go to university or even finish matric, so it was monumental for him when I got my degree. He gave me all the opportunities that he did not have growing up, and never once asked for anything in return. Even in his last month, when he was in hospital with COVID and pneumonia, he spent it sharing advice with me and teaching me things over the phone. It was truly the worst experience to not have been able to spend that time together in person, for me, for him, and I'm sure for many others. I wish he could have experienced the love and care firsthand from us while he was in hospital. But it didn't dampen his spirits though. He didn't let it. He was so optimistic that he was going to be fine. So optimistic that he convinced everyone around him that he was going to be fine, which I'm really, really mad about because I've been caught him completely off guard. Even though he was in hospital, it just seemed that he was improving and that he was going to be fine. He steadily sounded more energetic and joyous and sounded like his old self in his last moments. I'm glad he was the happiest he could have been under the circumstances. Last year he turned 75, a milestone he was extremely excited to celebrate. 75 years of life. What an achievement. I can't even begin to comprehend this, especially not to someone who was so driven to experience the depths of life like my father was. My dad actively pursued gaining experience. He loved adventure, and he adored traveling, often talking about all his adventures all around the world. He also went bungee jumping around the time he was 65. He went paragliding at 68 with me for my birthday, and at 73, he went skydiving from a height of 4,000 meters. He knew how to really live. He didn't believe in living a life of fear. He wasn't scared of much. It seemed like he wasn't scared of anything, actually. He was daring, bold, and adventurous. He was also fun, life of the party, and loud. So loud that the silence is deafening without him. More than anything, he was courageous. He challenged people's mindsets, their actions, their beliefs. He pushed for change. He stood up for what was right and wasn't scared to voice his opinions, even though it caused people to dislike him. He was big on principles. His favorite words he'd leave me with often were, be good, do good. The simplest philosophy that was drilled into me. That's how he lived. I found this poem that resonates with me when I think of my dad. It's called Instructions by Arnold Crompton. When I've moved beyond you and the adventure of life, gather in some pleasant place and there remember me, with spoken words, old and new. Let a tear fall if you will, but let a smile come quickly, for I've loved the laughter of life. Do not linger too long with your seriousness. Go eat and talk, and when you can, follow a woodland trail, climb a high mountain, walk along the wild seashore, choose the thoughts of some book which challenges your soul. Use your hands some bright day to make a thing of beauty, or to lift someone's heavy load. Though you mention not my name, though no thought of me crosses your mind, I shall be with you, for these have been the realities of my life for me. And when you face some crisis with anguish, when you walk alone with courage, when you choose your path of right, I shall be very close to you. For I have followed the valleys, I have climbed the heights of life. My father, Rajnikant Navin-Chandra Desai, Raj Desai, Raj, Daddy. All names to describe such an incredible man that was wealthy in spirit and heart. The world has lost a leader, a visionary, a legend in his own right. Daddy, it has been an honor to share so many special moments with you and to hold the title as your daughter. I wish I could have one last day with you, one last phone call, one last hug. My biggest wish of all, though, is that your parents could have seen the man you became and how much success you achieved in your life. they would have been deeply proud of you. I love you more now than ever before, and I will miss you always. May your soul attain moksha. Om Shanti. I also have some words that my dad's family would like to share. Unfortunately, they do not reside in Cape Town and they couldn't be here today, so I'm sharing it on their behalf. This is from my auntie Hasmukh and my auntie Dhanlakshmi, two of my father's older sisters. Namaste. As we bid farewell to Rajnikant, our youngest brother, we remember our childhood days which were filled with fun and laughter. A few years ago, we rekindled these memories as we spent time with him during his hospitalization in Durban. We pray to Paramatma that his soul rests in peace. Om Shanti. This is from my auntie Shakra, who was also very close to my father. Raj, we had a special bond. You were only 1 year and 4 months older, but from a young age we were very close. We shared a happy-go-lucky and fun nature. Raj was adventurous. He rode his motorbike to Cape Town from Durban and did a skydive from an aeroplane in New Zealand. He loved traveling, and I had the opportunity to go to India twice with him. Most rewarding was our trip to Mount Abu, which was an eye-opener to both of us. He was caring of the larger family and generous. Raj was a compassionate person. In memory of our parents, he made a donation to the Gujarati Sanskrit Kendra. Raj was someone in my family that I could talk to and he related. I will miss you so much. We built fun memories together which comfort me. May you attain moksha. This is from my auntie Manjula, the youngest of my father's sisters. My brother Raj was a caring and loving brother. He always remembered to see his sisters for Raksha Bandhan. He never missed a Diwali, whether wishing us by phone or in person. Raj had the zest of an adventurer. He moved from Durban to Cape Town as a young man and started his successful businesses in the mother city. I recall Raj always being there to lend a helping hand to me, whether it was with school and work problems or helping me to pull a childhood prank. Raj had the soul of an adventurer and the biggest heart of all. During his life, he traveled far and wide and touched the hearts and lives of many. Now as you depart on your final journey, we celebrate your life and your legacy. We know you lived life to the fullest, making the most of every moment. I will always love you and miss you, my brother. May the Lord grant your soul moksha. The last is from my father's nephew and his family and his brothers and sisters in Ahmedabad, India. I'm Anil Shah, nephew of dear Raj Desai, Mama. On Mama's ritual, on behalf of all brothers and sisters, we express our gratitude and deep condolences. Mama used to come to India almost every year and never forgot to meet everybody personally. We will never forget his cheerful personality. We will miss him a lot. He was our last Mama that we have lost. We have to respect destiny. I pray to God that his pious soul rests in peace. Jai Shri Krishna. Next will be my mother.
Namaste and hello to everyone. Thank you, Guruji, for performing the ceremony. And thank you for everyone that's present here today, especially in this difficult time. And thank you everyone who is watching online, who unfortunately couldn't join us in person under the circumstances. Raj and I met in India in 1982 while on holiday at the American Express office in Delhi. I had no idea how that encounter would change my entire life. We got married 2 years later and had our beautiful daughter a few years later. We had a business together and we worked together for many years. We were fortunate to have traveled many times to India and many other countries. Our trips on holiday was always full of fun, never a dull moment with Raj. Raj loved water sports and he wasn't afraid to try something new. He loved swimming. He and Nisha spent hours in the pool and had lots of fun. On one of our trips to Thailand, after dinner, while walking to our room, he passed the clubhouse. He stopped. As he saw a pool table and he said to Nisha, "Would you like to learn how to play pool?" And Nisha was eager and she said yes. And he spent a few hours teaching her how to play pool. And Nisha spent many hours playing pool with her dad at home. At a very young age, Nisha wanted to learn how to drive. And without my knowledge, he would teach her how to drive. And one day I found out and was quite angry. But that still didn't stop him from teaching her. I learned so much from him. He definitely was a storyteller. He had lots of stories to tell over the years. He loved music and spent many hours listening to music at home while relaxing in the garden most evenings. The one song that he listened regularly was a song by Frank Sinatra, "I Did It My Way." I will read a few lines from the song. "I lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my way." Yes, Raj definitely did things his way. We were missing. Although we were divorced for many years, Raj continued to be a huge part of my life. Even when I didn't see Raj, I still felt his presence with me. He was always a phone call away, and I knew he would not hesitate to help, no matter the time or place. Raj was extremely generous with his time. He was always ready to help a friend or a stranger who needed his help. He did his best for the Gujarati community. Raj had many friends and he kept them forever, some who are here today. He also always kept in touch with his family and friends in Durban and in India. He had the same customers for over 30 years. He definitely enjoyed what he did. He had this amazing gift of making friends. Raj was an optimist. Nothing ever got him down for long. Even while in hospital, he was so optimistic. He was going to get better and come home. He spent many hours talking to Nisha, even when he struggled with his breathing. Nisha said to him, "Dad, just WhatsApp me." But he refused. He wanted to talk to her over the phone a few times a day. Raj simply adored Nisha. She was the apple of his eye. Raj, you told me you wanted to live till you were 90, but it seems somebody had other plans. I miss your smile, the little things you did. I miss you. I will never see you again. A part of my heart went with you. Raj, I wish you peace. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
I'd like to call Uncle Harish Rama from the Cultural Society.
Raj was active committee and trustee member of the Cape Hindu Cultural Society. With his loud, jovial voice, he would freely help the community. When funds were needed, he would generously give and also encourage others to give. Over the years, he would regularly attend the Diwali and Navratri functions. Raj, the Cape Hindu Cultural Society, thank you for your participation and will miss your presence. On a personal note, I met Raj in the 80s when he first came to visit Papaji, that is my dad. In 1988, with his encouragement, Raj, Putri Bana, Prakash Kushal and myself formed a very successful investment group. Never was a moment of total disagreement. Together our families went out on memorable social outings. He would humorously share his life experience with us and add a joke with it. Our relationship grew so much that he invited us to a dinner for his 75th birthday, which we'll never forget. Just before he fell ill, he came to visit me, just to say hello, and we spoke about life. Afterwards, he went to see Bapuji. Raj, you truly left us with pleasant memories. I pray for your onward journey, you find a path that leads you to moksha. May Almighty grant Fatima, Nisha, family, guidance over the departure of Raj. Jai Shri Krishna.
I'd like to call up Auntie Premila Russell.
Friends and family of Raj Desai. In fact, you can say the world was his family. That's how much he loved life and everybody. So our humblest respects, and thank you so much, Fatima and Nisha, for giving us the honor to share and express our love and deep appreciation for a great human being. We do not just have one lifetime, but we have many. It's a whole chain of evolution that we come into this life with. And each time we come into this life, we take birth to satisfy our particular desires and to resolve certain desires that were there previously. And the purpose of life is really to be free. Not a pseudo freedom to do things that just come into your mind, but to really act upon them with a deep-hearted feeling that gave us a feeling of genuine freedom, everlasting freedom. To be accepting of all life's challenges and circumstances, and at the same time to live your own truth, and not to live in anybody else's shadow. To me, that is the story of Raj Desai. Here's how he made his life. Yes, he had big dreams, which he pursued with perseverance and dedication. His work ethic made him a successful entrepreneur. He spoke so proudly of how him and Fatima had started the business together. And I can tell you, every conversation we had, Fatima's name was there. And Nisha, he adored and he doted on both of you. No conversation went without you two being mentioned. I must really, really, express that. And I'm sure he'd like me to express that too. And as a family, he always spoke about the regular trips he used to make to India and all the suppliers he used to meet and the great times he used to have together. You could see that he was really a happy and a contented person. And I think together with Fatima, he got the Midas touch. And the Raj Mahal really turned into a massive empire beyond his own beliefs. So he had an enriching life. He knew how to fulfill his duties and responsibilities to his friends and family and society. He was never afraid to voice his opinion. By nature, he was truthful, he was intelligent, he was resourceful. He was a very virtuous person, generous as we all know him, and extremely charitable. He knew how to relate to people. He never had a malicious bone in him. He was caring and protective, like a big brother to all. Celebrating life was one of his fortes, as you've been hearing. He had a larger-than-life personality, and he had a real zest for life. He was passionate about many things, especially his family and friends, business, cars, sports, and travels. Extremely sociable, yes, and even flamboyant, attracted attention because of his exuberance in life, his confidence, and his stylishness. He was boisterous, full of energy, and always cheerful. With these qualities, he made a very, very huge footprint in the history of Cape Town. And I need to share the role that Raj and I had played together, and it really needs to be recorded. In 1995, the World Hindu Conference was held in Durban, which was called the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. It was held in Durban, and Bob Narandas from Narandas Jewelers was assigned to come to Cape Town to promote the conference, the activities, and the events that were to unfold. So on the 21st of May 1995, Raj Desai initiated a meeting of all the Hindu-based organizations in the Western Cape that was set up to advance the world of the World Hindu Conference, as it was called then. And at the gathering, they appointed Guru Krishna, Raj Desai, and myself as a conveners, and we were tasked to promote the activities and to secure a delegation to attend the Durban conference. And the awareness campaign included hosting or visiting international swamis and saints and organizing public lectures, which were done on a rotational basis at various temples. Raj had approached different families who were very well known in the community, asking if they could host them. Because we're coming at different intervals. And he came to see me and he said he was very saddened. He says, I don't know what we're going to do. Nobody has the capacity to host all these swamis that are going to be coming. So I said, well, don't worry, I'll host them. So this is how I began to do the work that I'm still doing today. And it was I think it was just the call of my life. I knew that I was going to do this from an early childhood. This was going to be happening. I had these visions. And I knew this was the moment it's actually materializing. And so this is how we work together. Problem solving constantly. Whatever issue raised, we were able to resolve. So the World Hindu Conference was an overwhelming and invigorating success in Durban. So the huge delegation came from around the country. And the goal was to concretize and to bring about unity within the Hindu community in their respective areas. And a report back meeting was set up, and some of the delegation, I won't go into the details, but the delegation attended. Some of us went, and then we came back, and we then created this unifying effort for the community. And then we had then established the structure which was called the World Hindu Conference Cape Town Committee, and all the different regions had, this is how it was, were advised to do it. So it was the business sector that actually organized. Raj, through his business network, was able to deliver 100% on bringing all the organizations together. So as it was the mandate of the committee to promote the unity and culture and heritage, I was elected the chairperson, and Raj and I had worked so closely together, and he was the treasurer, and Jawahir was the secretary. And I said, Raj, you work so well together, just co-chair with me. All decisions are made jointly. Why the separation? Just let us be the co-chair. And he agreed. And so the core committee at the time was with Shri Guru Krishna, Swami Parvati Ananda, Manila Soni, the late Mr. Bihari Lala from the Rylands High School, and Dr. Ramesh Bika, his very, very close friend. So we had gathered enormous momentum and the support from all the affiliate organizations, and we set up a volunteering group. And so it was really to bring about a lot of all the marginalized communities, to bring them together. So the structure in Durban had then dissolved, and then we were asked to set up our own organizations, and that was how the Hindu Association of the Western Cape was born. The executive committee members, all of us were reinstated, and the original mandate was reaffirmed, and each organization retained their autonomy. So nation building was part of what we were doing at the time. And it impressed upon us to also unify the Hindus at the time. So Hawke extended all his activities, and we incorporated, and as a chair, went to do a lot of the social, political, economic work out there. But he was the mainstay. So in 2006, there was a change of leadership, and a new committee then took place, but then together we had worked for 10 years. So when you look back at Hawke, and I needed to share this history, it was very, very important. When you look back at Hawke's successes, then in history we must herald the name of Raj Desai. It should never be forgotten. Raj, today we applaud you. You laid that foundation. You were a real pillar of strength. Adversity never deterred you. You had a mathematical mind, and it was really genetically coded, and you could find a solution for every situation. You took a giant step to sow the very first seeds of unity in the Hindu community. You were well established, you were influential, and you had a huge network of people that you could just call upon and count upon. That stature gave him the courage and confidence to call together all the Hindu-based organizations, and he was extremely proud of having achieved that. And every organization sent at least 5 to 6 delegates. To us, this was a huge victory. For the Hanuman Chalisa, when we started doing this in 1998 as a unifying event for the community, I would go to Raj's office after every event, and I would go with all my receipts and all my expenses, and Fatima would always be in the office, and we'd sit there and discuss the events, discuss the financials. He'd record everything. We would make sure that the event never ran at a loss. Sometimes we just call on his friends, I need a donation, we're short of this and that, and they would just willingly give. So the ESCO comprised of Raj, Javahir and myself, and after every event, we would call a meeting with all the member organization, and we would present a post-event report after every event. Raj managed Hawke's finances impeccably. He was transparent and he was accountable. And he always gave the financial report at every event. And every donation that was received was recorded and receipts were given. And at the meetings, he had the open book for inspection, so anybody was free to come and inspect. We would obtain feedback from the organizations, and we would have valuable insight on how to constantly improve the events in future. So we had served Hawke in a leadership capacity for more than 10 years. And we stepped down, and Raj at the time, with his financial prudence, he also planned well with the funds of Hawke, and he had invested in a fixed deposit at the time. So he was very determined that we should do a proper handover, a legally binding handover, and had all the financials of the past 10 years audited by the Wasson brothers. He ensured that all the accounting procedure was meticulous, as well as that our reputation as leaders in the public handling funds was equally meticulous. This had brought immense satisfaction and peace of mind to Raj. Every time he came to our pharmacy, he would always remind me that we did the right thing at the time. There was no looking back, and there was no regrets. So during the serving time of Hawke, Raj would come home, and often he would speak about how we could, bring more unification in the community. And one of them was that in 1995, we had shared the first Diwali celebrations, and where all the Hindu-based organizations came together, and the late Mr. Bihari Lala, the principal of Rylands High School, had offered his school hall. The organizations, they all rendered bhajans, and everybody did an aarti, which is light of the lamp together. So this is truly a milestone in the history of Cape Town. Because when you consider how apartheid regime had not only colonized the people racially, but also their minds into separate development and separate temple organizations. Communities at that time were more concerned about their own individual goals at the expense of the greater good of all. So it required courage to challenge the status quo at the time, which everybody had found a certain sense of security and stability. And it requires persistence and resilience to keep moving in the face of all the challenges. It takes empathy and an authentic commitment to do what's right for the community, but it also demands discernment and a finesse to do it in such a way that it does not invalidate anyone nor diminish their sense of belonging to their respective organizations. Today, Raj, we recognize, we admire, and we salute your honesty, your integrity, sincerity, dignity, and your commitment to serving others. You truly are an honorable man. The way we worked, we never ever stepped on each other. Instead, we stepped aside so that the other could rise and shine in its own glory. That is a deep level of respect that we had worked with Raj. And it was also very easy. It felt as if there was a karmic assignment were given from some higher force above, and everything really went smoothly. When I spoke to Fatima, and she had called me to share the sad news, and I said, he really lived his life, and she said, yes, one more thing he really wanted to do. He wanted to go on to the world cruise. So I want to say to you, Raj, today, the world has come together. We are going to give you a send-off as a cruise. You're going to sail through the heavens with so much ease and so much peace, because you made so many hearts happy here. And it's only the goodness that we take with. Your peace and your freedom is guaranteed. You've always been a free spirit, and you always reign freely. So thank you for knowing such a great, noble soul. May you all be blessed. Jai Shri Krishna. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call on Noel Ramasur, one of my dad's good friends.
Namaste. Salam. Good morning. I'd like to thank everyone for being here to help Raj's family and friends celebrate his life. Raj and I had a 42-year friendship dating back to 1978. He was always filled with a good sense of humor, often gregarious, with his raconteur-like stories that were always filled with wit, smartness, his uncanny experiences, generosity, friendship, and love. And you've heard a lot of that from speakers before me. He had a full life, having started from humble beginnings to eventually building a successful business with his dear wife Fatima. He was a street-smart survivor with an astute knowledge of business, especially negotiation skills, and his uncanny ability using his and his beloved daughter Nisha's birth dates whenever he was faced with an opportunity. This underlined the type of person he was. A man of huge community spirit and generosity through his active participation in the Cape Town Hindu Cultural Society and other Hindu bodies in Cape Town. He was also a gifted sportsman, loved swimming as often as he could, and was a founding member of the Cape Hindu Golf Charitable Trust, which raised funds for community projects. A friend to all, irrespective of their standing in life, he always approached one with that disarming smile of his that was a signature characteristic trait, and most importantly, as a loving father and husband. He doted on his daughter Nisha, and he often fondly spoke about their adventurous activities during the times they had when they were able to travel as a family. As a family man, he had also spent happy moments with his surviving siblings and his nieces and nephews in India, especially after his 70th birthday. Fatima, he always cherished your support and always spoke of you in loving terms. A hugely sociable soul, we are blessed with happy memories as we bid you farewell this morning. I am reminded of what an ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus had said: there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Raj lived this quote and is indeed a lesson to emulate. For certainly, he no longer being here is something well beyond the power of our will. Raj Desai, may your soul rest in sublime moksha. Namaste and God bless.
I'd like to call up Uncle Prakash Kushal, also another one of my dad's very good friends.
Namaste to all. Raj Desai will be remembered for his happy personality, always smiling, sharing jokes, a loving and caring friend, my golf partner of fundraising events and others. I will miss him. My family and I are grateful he was a part of our life and well will always treasure the great memories. Many his, may his Atma rest in peace. We wish Fatima and Nisha peace and healing. Om Shanti.
And lastly, another of my dad's very good friends, Uncle Chico Hasim.
Namaste. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Friends and family, I greet you with the universal words of peace. I was asked to say a few words, and I must say, this time it was not an easy task. I would like to thank you all for attending the funeral of one of my good friends, Mr. Raj Desai. Firstly, my deepest condolences to his family for their great loss. May God place patience and acceptance in the heart of his family, in the hearts of his family. It is only with time that we heal. We all have friends, many or few, good or bad, loyal or unpleasant. The fact is that we cannot live without them because they will always be a part of our family. So when we lose a friend, it feels like a brother. Somebody who accompanied us at times, who made us laugh and cry, but mostly he did not allow us to feel alone and helpless in times of need. He was always willing to help and offered his time and company. They say a friend is someone who is with you through good times and bad times. It's true. But I tell you that Raj was more than a good friend. He was like my older brother, my advisor, my travel partner, my poker buddy, my golfing buddy, and mainly my friend. This is a difficult loss. I'll never forget his kindness. I am so sad for this loss. Raj was loved by many. We met many years ago, more on a social and golfing level, but in the last few years he became quite close to some of us. We traveled together on a few trips, and since then we became good friends. Raj was always unselfish, generous, optimistic, smart, and very funny, always cracking jokes. He loved advising on business, property, and money matters, always with good intentions, sincerity, respect, and appreciation. Raj did not have much family in Cape Town, so he was always offering his help and generosity towards the community. He was fairly active with fundraising events and community work. Among my best memories with him is that when we used to play poker, he was the banker and the man in charge. He was always hilarious, full of fun and laughter. We're really going to miss him. He kept in touch until last, and I really thought he would come out of hospital being well. So it was really a big shock when he passed. I suppose we all have to leave this world one day. It is stated that when it is your time, there is nothing we can do to stop it. We hope that wherever he is gone, he is in a better place. To God we belong, and to him is our return. May the Almighty make it easy on him and grant him a good place. I'm sure his family, his friends, and everyone in this room will surely miss him every day. But always remember him with joy. Thank you and God bless.
I'd like to thank everyone that spoke today very much. It was extremely special for me to hear so many great memories, and especially to Auntie Premila. I didn't know a lot of those things about my father, so it was amazing to discover that now. I wish I knew sooner, and I'm sure I'm going to be hearing many more stories from many people that I probably wish I would have heard sooner as well. One thing I'd like to say to anyone who has not lost a parent yet: firstly, it's indescribable. I love my dad, but I did not expect to feel like this. I could not have imagined it to feel like this. I had some difficult times with him as well. There were ups and downs. But right now I can't remember any of it. And even any negative things seem so silly and irrelevant right now that I wish I could have overlooked a lot of things much sooner. And the advice I could give is to cherish every moment, even those moments where you get annoyed or irritated or think your parents are being silly or nagging or trying to give you advice when you just want to be an adult and do your own thing and not listen to them. All of it is important, and the value of it, perhaps it's not, I don't know if it's possible to appreciate it in the value that it should be appreciated in. I don't think the value of it can be appreciated as much as it is once they've passed, because it's just indescribable how much more everything, how much more love is felt, how much more depth is felt once you're unable to ever say or do anything for them ever again. And my dad did want to go on one last world cruise, and that's what he told me. The last thing he told me is that when he's better, he's going to take me on a world cruise. And I hope one day that I can do this in his name and celebrate it in my heart with him. My mom, I'm very glad to have a support in this. I don't know how I would get through this without her. My parents were an amazing team. I had a brilliant childhood. I couldn't have asked for better parents. They were amazing. My dad was, I have the best memories of him when I was a child. He took me, my mom, because of the business day, we went to India at least twice a year, and part of it was business and part of it was holiday. And I had such great times, and it's amazing how much stronger these memories come flooding back once someone has passed. But this isn't meant to be sad, this is meant to be happy. I know my dad would have probably been crying listening to all your speeches and all your nice words. I hope that we can use this as an opportunity to say these kinds of things to our friends and family that are still alive, because it's not the same if you keep these things to yourself. And not be able to share them once they're gone. Once they're gone, it's stuck with you forever. So it's better to say it to them while they're alive. My dad would be smiling, and I know he would appreciate all of you being here in person and watching this online. And I know he lives on with all of us. Namaste.
Before we start concluding prayer, it is my duty to express and say few things before you regarding Pujya Rajbhai's Jeev Chetna. I know it is not the time of lecture. It is not time of lecture. But it is also not the time to ignore the science of death. Like one human being who is living still there in this world with body-brain structure, his Jeev Chetna is still there, having manas with him, and in some moment, some time, in some way, asking something, telling something, experiencing something, need something. And through our last ritual, what we normally do in Agni Sanskar, according to Indian culture, it covers all the things which is connected with that world, one world which we are staying in, living in this world, the world of five senses, the world of physical body-brain structure, the world of logical brain and logical things, the world which can be seen by these eyes and which can be heard by these ears and which can be touched by these skin and fingers. But the world which in his Jeev Chetna has been gone, physical things, physical materials becomes very, very immaterial, and it can't reach there. So when we will do Pindadan, all flowers giving, Havuti, that physical form of that things will be remain here. It will go into the fire, it will be turned into the ashes. But through that ritual, what we are going to do, the astral part of that things will reach to him definitely in very that moment when we are doing and we are offering that things. This is one aspect. When we describe his life with our words, as lastly Nishabel did tell, it is indescribable. Indescribable. No can describe it. Similarly, in that world which his Jeev Chetna is staying there, living there, and experiencing, he has to pass some stages in that world till his Jeev Chetna attains second this kind of body-brain structures, we normally call it birth. Till that moment, something happens in that world. From the first minute of leaving the body, in 1 hour, first hour, almost 45 minutes to 1 hour, the science of death says, from that moment till 55 days, his Jeev Chetna has to pass some different stages, he has to experience and etc. I am not going into the deep of the science. And from 12th day, which one we normally do Barmo, on 12th day, his Jeev Chetna goes more deep into the sleep of the life, of that life. So before he goes more deep into the sleep, we offer different kind of things according to our ritual, right? Including Shad, Tarpan, Pinda, it is not nonsense things. By doing this thing, we are just trying to give a big and deep help to his Jiv Chetna. And so far as the experience of his message is concerned, we can have it. Our Rishi has shown some symptoms. If you are realizing, if you are experiencing this thing, that means your prayers is being answered. If you are feeling this, it is not your feeling, it is his Jiv Chetna's feeling which is entering in you, and he is feeling this. This is scientific thing. It has nothing to do with any kind of belief system. But I am not going deep into the all science of death. Right now, just I would like to tell about Rajbhai, that he used to come whenever he got time, and all kind of discussion, and especially regarding, as Fatima Ben and Nisa Ben told, world to, I'm going on this time here, and then I will watch this final match and this and that. And if you want to send any parcel, please give me. And 1 or 2 times he took parcel to give our friends to Nadia. And he was telling all the planning, okay, if I will go first here, then I will pass then this and etc. And almost we all the time bring snacks, tea, or at the time of one thing I am not telling now, I will tell it to Nisha Ben, Fatima Ben personally, because if I will tell this thing now, it will be count as my self-love. I don't want to explain my self-love. But one important contribution which we are forgetting is he has given practical living example of our Gujarati Bhasha also. And there was one of the important subjects in every discussion. He always used to tell us. And his Gujarati, Adbhut Gujarati હતો. એટલે let me speak few words in Gujarati also, so his Jiv Chetna can be, this vibrations of Gujarati Bhasha can be reached at there. તો એ કહેતા, અને એની જે શૈલી હતી, એની મેથડ હતી, આમ કહ્યું ને, બંને કહ્યું કે આમ jolly માણસ, આમ કહેતા હોય ને, in that very moment you will find, oh, he is not describing the thing, he is doing practical, એ પોતે કરતા એવું લાગે. તો ગુજરાતી બહુ સુંદર બોલતા એ, અને ઘરે જે વાત થતી લગભગ જ્યારે જ્યારે આવે ત્યારે ગુજરાતીમાં થતી. છેલ્લે જ્યારે આવ્યા ત્યારે પેલું પેઇન્ટિંગનું કામકાજ ચાલતું હતું, તો એમણે જોયું કે ડોર વોઝ ઓપન એન્ડ ઈ કેમ, અને પછી આવીને કહ્યું એમને કે હું જતો હતો, મેં જોયું કે આ બહારનું ખુલ્લું છે, કારણ કે ઇલેક્ટ્રિક ફેન્સને લીધે નોર્મલી હવે પેલું બંધ રહેતું હોય બધું ટેમ્પલનું, તો કે આ સાઈડનો ગેટ ખુલ્લો હતો એટલે હું અહીંયા આવી ગયો અને કીધું વેલકમ, આવતા જવું, પણ કે હું આવવાનું મન થાય પણ ગેટ ને બધું બંધ હોય એટલે હું ટાળું, પછી જતો, પણ આજે ખુલ્લો જોતો, પછી વાતચીત થઈ હતી બધી. ધેટ આઈ વિલ ટેલ યુ લેટર ઇન પર્સનલી. તો ગુજરાતી અત્યારે આપણે પ્રેયર માટે ભેગા થયા છે, તો ગુજરાતી પ્રાર્થના પણ હું કરું છું, રાઈટ. એ એને શ્રદ્ધાંજલિ પણ કહેવાશે, એની રિસ્પેક્ટ પણ કહેવાશે, અને સાચા અર્થમાં એ જે ભજન પ્રેયર નોર્મલી વી સિંગ, વેન વી સિંગ ઇટ ઓલ ટુગેધર, દેટ ઇઝ સમ ડિફરન્ટ રાગ, એ બીજો રાગ છે. પણ અત્યારે આઈ એમ સિંગિંગ ઇટ ઇન માય ઓન રાગ. It will be also one kind of Shraddhanjali to Rajbhai. I have seen this in this rag in India, but in South Africa, very first time I am singing this, and everybody knows this prarthana. પરમાત્માએ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો, પરમાત્માએ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો. હે નાથ જોડી હાથ પાએ, પ્રેમથી સૌ લાગીએ, શરણું મળે સાચું તમારું, એ હૃદયથી માગીએ, પરમાત્મા એ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો. વળી કર્મના યોગે કરી જે કુળમાં એ અવતરે, ત્યાં પૂર્ણ પ્રેમે ઓ પ્રભુજી પ્રેમથી ભક્તિ કરે. લક્ષ 84 બંધનોને તમે લક્ષ્યમાં લઈ કાપજો, પરમાત્મા એ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો. સુસંપત્તિ સુવિચારીને સત્કર્મનો દૈવારસો, જન્મો જન્મ સત્સંગથી કીર્તાર પાર ઉતારજો. આલોકને પરલોકમાં તવ પ્રેમ રગ રગ વ્યાપજો. આલોકને પરલોકમાં તવ પ્રેમ રગ રગ વ્યાપજો, પરમાત્મા એ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો. લાસ્ટ વન. મળે મોક્ષ કે સુખ સ્વર્ગના આશા ઉરેવી નથી. એ વૈષ્ણવ હતા, દેસાઈ હતા, વૈષ્ણવ હતા, કૃષ્ણ ભક્તિ હતી એની. અને વૈષ્ણવ ધર્મમાં મોક્ષ ના માગે માણસ, મુક્તિ એ જન્મો જન્મ ભગવાનનું નામ સ્મરણ, જય શ્રી કૃષ્ણ માટે પરમાત્માની ભક્તિ માગે. મળે મોક્ષ કે સુખ સ્વર્ગના આશા ઉરે એવી નથી. દ્યો દેહ દુર્લભ માનવીનો, ભજન કરવા ભાવથી, સાચું બતાવી રૂપ શ્રી રણછોડ હૃદય સ્થાપજો. સાચું બતાવી રૂપ શ્રી રણછોડ હૃદય સ્થાપજો, પરમાત્મા એ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો, પરમાત્મા એ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો, પરમાત્મા એ આત્માને શાંતિ સાચી આપજો. We are using word Atma. Actually, Atma doesn't need any kind of Shanti. That is wrong word, but we normally, Jeev Chetna needs Shanti. Gita ma, as we know the Gita, in Gita ji, Krishna Bhagavan has told, no weapon can cut it, no fire can burn it, no water can wet it. આત્મા તો સત્યમ શિવમ, એને કાંઈ કસાની, એ જન્મતો નથી, મળતો નથી, પણ જીવ ચેતના એ બંનેની એને જરૂર છે. પણ આપણે ભજનમાં ગાઈએ છીએ, ઠીક છે, ઓલ રાઈટ. નાઉ before we do Shanti part and after this Shanti part prayer, I would like to request all of you to offer your flowers and last respect to Pujya Rajnibhai Jiv Chetna. But before that, let we read this prayer and then we all will stand up and we do Shanti part. Right? त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराण स्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप पुराण छो आदिदेव तमेज विश्वनु अंत्यधाम ज्ञाता तमे ज्ञेय पद पर छो तमे भर्यु विश्व अनंत रूप न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूव अजो नित्य शाश्वतयं यो पुराणो न हन्यते न हन्यते न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावक न चैनं क्लेदत्यायापो न शोयति मा शोषयति मारुत ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्माम् अमृतं गमय मृत्योर्माम् अमृतं गमय. Thou art the primal God, ancient being. Thou art the final resting place of the universe. Thou art the knower, the knowledge and supreme abode. By thou is the universe exists and thy form is infinite. Never the spirit was born, the spirit cells cease to be never. Never was time, it was not. End and beginning. End and beginning are, there is no other path for the attain of salvation. Now, I would like to request all of you, please stand up. You please speak 3 times Gayatri Mantra again. Then we will keep silence. We will observe silence for a few moments, right? And then during the silence, please try to offer all our internal feelings, internal sensation, internal all kind of positivity to help his Jiv Chetna. So please first chant 3 times Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhuvah Swaha Tatsavito Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Bhuvah Swaha Tatsavito Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Bhuvah Swaha
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। May Paramatma give all kind of his help to Pujya Rajbhai's Jiv Chetna for his further journey. Heartfelt again sympathy and condolences and very heartfelt samvedna to with Fatima Ben, Nisha Ben and all family members and friends. Now I would like to request, please offer the flowers in front of Rajbhai's photo. And if you want to do parikrama, you can do. We can move this further. So offer this, make one parikrama, one circle. Yeah, you can put it there, then we make parikrama, and then we'll do Shanti part. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Vanmali Gadi Sankhi Sankhi Chakri Chanan ki Shriman Narayana Vishnu Vasudevo Bhirakshatu Shri Ram Ram Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ram Nama Varanane. Om Yasya Smarana Matrena Janma Sansara Bandhanat Vimuchyate Namastasmai Vishnave Prabhu Vishnave Vishnave Prabhu Vishnave Vishnave Prabhu Vishnave. You want to express thanks, or we can do Shanti part? Shanti part. Om Dhyahu Shantirandarikshagun Shanti Prithavi Shanti Rapah Shanti Oshadhayah Shanti Vanaspatayah Shanti Vishwadeva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvagvam Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Sama Shanti Redhi Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you again for everyone here for joining. It's really such a privilege and an honor to be here and support my father. To know how much he valued everything about me and for those amazing and those watching online. We will love all of us. We will love our country. I see Virgie.